Chad Graff joins us. He's the Patriots writer for The Athletic. And Chad, I want to start with this one. What are we seeing tonight from Drake Maye? How many series? How many plays? What's the game plan for Drake Maye tonight, Chad?
You're going to see a whole heck of a lot of Drake Maye tonight. So obviously in that first preseason game, he played 6 snaps. It didn't go great. There were penalties, stuffed runs, 3 passes. A screen was the only that was successful. And then after that, there was a bunch of blowback, and understandably so. Everybody's like, wait a second. We came all the way to see Drake Maye, this strong-armed rookie quarterback who's going to lead us forever, to the point where fans were booing when Bailey Zappi, the third string, came on. Like, hang on, this is not what we came out here to see. So Judon Mayo came out and said, hey, I heard you guys, heard the complaint. We've got a system here that we're going to use to try to develop Drake. That means that he didn't play very much in the first game, but he's going to play a ton in this second game. And I think there's a few things to watch within it as he's out there for probably a full half. The first thing is the offensive line stinks. Like, they got their butts kicked against the Eagles yesterday. One of the worst practices I think that I've ever seen from an offense. Wow. And so we're going to see just how athletic he is. Like, part of the appeal to him for the Patriots was he's got some sneaky athleticism. He moves around well in the pocket. He throws on the run. There's some things to like with him beyond just being a pocket quarterback. And so I would pay attention to that tonight. He's going to be under pressure a lot. The Patriots kind of have to just shrug their shoulders and accept that. So how he handles that pressure, I think, is going to be a big moment for him tonight.
You know, Chad, I want to pause just for a second, because we're going to talk a lot about Drake Maye, obviously this fallout of Matthew Judon, but I want to go back to that first preseason game, because Drake Maye gave us plays, but Joe Milton gave us wow moments, and I felt like the Patriots broadcast was like, I guess we got to run these highlights of Joe Milton, who looked like the better quarterback, who looked like he had more upside. I'm not saying it's a controversy of what quarterback to play, but I feel like if you put Joe Milton out there again tonight, everybody's going to say, what's up with this guy?
Well, and the tricky position for them, like, not that there's a competition, but the tricky part is Joe Milton's just fun. Like, he's straight up as fun. He's got maybe the strongest arm in the league. Every day at practice, after the quarterbacks go through their drill of just firing balls into a net, he does a backflip to celebrate, gets the fans going. So, like, you've got this backflipping, strong-armed quarterback who's scrambling and breaking away from people. It's just naturally going to be a lot of fun to watch. And what's especially tough for the Patriots is little else is fun about them. Like, it's just not a fun team. They're going to try to run the ball a lot and keep games low scoring and try to play good defense and ball possession and don't turn it over. And now let's punt. And so when you've got a fan base that has seen boring football, boring possession, boring play after play, and then all of a sudden this Joe Milton guy comes in, he's scrambling around, like, yeah, I'm with you. It's just fun.
He's Chad Graff. He's the Patriots writer for The Athletic, joining me, Kirk Morrison, here filling in for Rich. Going back to Drake Maye, and look, it's funny that you say that the Patriots I won't say this offseason, but so far through training camp, they do seem boring. Like, it's just stale. And I'm thinking, hey, Judon Mayo comes in. There's this now influx of youth, a younger head coach. We're getting away from Bill Belichick. And so maybe things will be different. The Patriot way will be different, right? I'm looking at Alabama. And now that Nick Saban is retired and Kalen DeBoer takes over, and Alabama's, they all over the TVs now. They doing documentaries. They doing everything. And I'm like, wait, isn't this what the Patriots are supposed to be? Like, reintroducing themselves, rebranding themselves. And yet Drake Maye, not taking anything away, it doesn't look like what we expected. It just seems like a boring brand of football. And then you cut Juju Smith-Schuster, who was at least a guy who was visible. And now it's just like, who are these Patriots?
Yeah, the problem is bad offense just naturally is boring, and that's where they're at. And so, like, you look back to last year. Last year, it made sense that they were boring. It was Mac Jones again, bad receivers, a bunch of guys that you didn't really know, a bunch of number 3 receivers. It made sense that that was boring with Belichick. This was supposed to be exciting with Drake Maye and a quarterback competition with Jacoby Brissett, and they drafted 2 wide receivers. And so when you have the number 3 pick on a quarterback, plus you draft 2 wide receivers in the first 4 rounds, like, that should be fun and exciting. And yet Drake Maye has been consistently with the second team. He has been, I would say it's fair to say, a little bit worse than Jacoby Brissett so far. And so I think that he and people close to him might argue, like, yeah, look who you're giving him. The Patriots starters aren't that good. Think of what their second team is. And so, yeah, like with Calvin Anderson as his tackles and the offensive line that he's had, of course there's going to be some struggles. And the Patriots starting wide receivers aren't good. So, of course, he's going to struggle with their wide receivers 5, 6, 7, 8. And yet it just hasn't been good enough, crisp enough for them to start giving Drake a bunch of starting reps. Now, that's why I think tonight is super interesting for them, is if he goes out there and plays really well and has a good game, all of this gets ratcheted up a notch. And we're talking about, okay, maybe the guy's a gamer. Maybe the practices have just been so-so. But you give him a chance. You let him run around out there. He no longer has the red jersey on. If he shows up in a big way tonight, all of a sudden, I think this boring team starts to get pretty interesting.
Yeah, I hope they get interesting really quickly, because right now it has been a very boring brand of football. But that being said, Chad Graff, writer for The Athletic, covering the Patriots, my resident Patriots fan, Chris Brockman here on my left, brought to my attention, because I went through this before. I was a member of the Oakland Raiders back then, 2009. And I remember my head coach at the time, Tom Cable, called me to his office during training camp. Now, Chad, that's not a great sign. You're the starting middle linebacker, and coach calls you in right before cut down day, says, I want to talk to you. So I full on intended, like, wow, I'm either getting cut or I'm getting traded. And I'm like, I had a great camp. Like, what is going on? And then he tells me, hey, we're trying to get you some help up front. We're going to trade for Richard Seymour, and we want to do some things. Are you on board with that? I was like, hell yeah, I'm on board with that. So Brockman just kind of reminded me that the Patriots will trade a guy a year early when it turns to paying a premium for a player. That being said, Matthew Judon's trade from the Patriots over to the Atlanta Falcons, this is on brand with what the Patriots done. Lawyer Malloy as well, that we talked about a little bit earlier. But was there a tipping point throughout these practices, throughout his hold away from practice, but I'm holding in, now I'm practicing, now I'm disgruntled? Was there a tipping point where the Patriots said, okay, enough is enough, let's just get away with this?
Well, I think the tipping point was just that they got better offers than they were expecting. They didn't think that they were going to get a third-round pick back for him. And all of a sudden, when you've got the Bears in the mix, the Texans in the mix, and then obviously the Falcons, that drives the price tag up to the point where it gets to be a third-round pick, and they say, okay, wasn't the plan to move him. Our defense is going to get worse. Our team is going to get worse. But that's a price that, we've got to jump on. And so they, of course, trade him for the third-round pick. A couple ways to look at that where – on the one hand, of course, they're a rebuilding team. Stockpile all the picks that you can. That makes sense. On the other hand, this new regime, Elliott Wolf, Gerard Mayo, has done things so different than Bill Belichick, where, as you mentioned, Belichick was the king of, I'd rather get rid of you a year too late than a year too early. They've kind of done the opposite. They brought back everybody they could. They re-signed or extended 12 players this offseason from a team that won 4 games a year ago. Tavai, Barmore, Stevenson, Hunter Henry, like anybody who was up or eligible, like, you want money? Great, we got it. We're spending it. Here you go. Matthew Judon was the one exception to that. And it's definitely fair to say he admitted to some jealous feelings of like looking around and, hang on a second, I've been your best player for 3 years. You're extending and re-signing everybody but me? Like, what's going on here? Something's not adding up. And so all of that reached a tipping point where he said, pay me or trade me. They said, all right, we'll kick the tires on a trade. No promises. See what's out there. Maybe we'll get a fourth. And then all of a sudden when the Bears and Falcons are fighting for thirds, like, okay, now we can make a move. The flip side to all of this, the Patriots just got worse. Like, straight up, an already bad team got worse. That's going to be tough to watch. They wanted to win games by being competitive defensively. Now they're without Christian Barmore, who was diagnosed with blood clots. He's out indefinitely. Matthew Judon is off to Atlanta. Like, their pass rush took massive hits. And I just don't know that they're going to be able to get to the passer like you need to in the NFL.
But my question would be, with the trade of Judon, now people kind of start to see a little bit that maybe we're gearing up for a season that may not be great, that we are in a rebuild. What is the number of, and I don't even know if I should even go here yet, is there a number of wins that you have to see in year one under Gerard Mayo, or is it starting to look like we're going to do our best, but we're kind of putting our eggs in the basket for 2025?
Yeah, this is the first time basically since Tom Brady showed up 25 years ago that the Patriots are going into a season with zero expectations for wins and losses and what it's going to mean for the playoffs. Like even last year's disaster, they thought, hey, Matt Patricia's gone as the offensive coordinator. Bill O'Brien's in. That's going to turn things around. Defense is going to be good. We're going to be good. So this is the first year that the wins and losses do not matter for the Patriots. There's only one thing that matters, and that is how Drake Maye looks whenever he plays. Probably is it going to be week one? Who knows where it's going to be after that? If Drake Maye comes in and shows you promise, it doesn't matter if you go 0-17. If you see signs that this is the guy, we can build around him. It doesn't, of course, have to be to like CJ Stroud, oh my God, we're going for a Super Bowl next year level. But if you're sure that you've got the quarterback, then they've got the cap space, they've got the assets, they can do everything to build around him next year. They just need to show that he's the guy. Like it was even hard for them to get an offensive coordinator this offseason because everybody was so unsure of what they had at the most important spot in the NFL. And so if they go 0-17, but Drake Maye looks good and he's going to be the guy, that's probably better than going 7-10 with Jacoby Brissett all 17 games.
Chad, I mentioned earlier that Juju Smith-Schuster was released from the Patriots. Now, there's two things. One is that maybe Juju is not the same guy, and the Patriots said, you know what, it's better to get rid of him now than him get injured, and now we're on the hook for money on the salary cap. Or is that they feel really comfortable with a couple of the young players who they drafted. You mentioned Polk and Baker, the young wide receivers who they drafted, and the guys who they already have on the roster. What does this wide receiver room look like? Are they exciting? Are they fun? I haven't seen a lot from them, but I would love to just get your perspective on what should we expect from these receivers after they let go of Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah, and Smith-Schuster was a little bit of both. He wasn't having a good camp, and also they wanted to see what they've got from their young players, which makes sense and continues this trend when you trade Judon of let's just see what this is going to look like with the young guys. And so I would say it's been a mixed bag. Some of them, Jalen Polk, their second-round pick, seems like a steady, reliable guy who's going to be, their number one or number two receiver. He'll probably be good, but, he's a rookie, and that just comes with a shoulder shrug, and you don't know exactly what you're going to get until the season starts. Demario Douglas, I think, is a player who is going to make some plays, and it's going to wow people, and he's good with the ball in his hands, and he's going to be coming underneath on a bunch of crossers, and he's going to be a man beater. But also, he's a total outlier for size. Like banking on him to stay healthy for 17 games. Yeah. Frankly, if you get him for 14 games, that's a win. Like just take that and move on. And after that, kind of up and down. Javon Baker, the rookie, has had some wow, awesome moments, and then some, oh my gosh, what is he doing moments. KJ Osborne's been steady. And so I think the best way to look at this group is it's a collection of a bunch of number three wide receivers. One or two of them, like Polk or Demario Douglas, have a chance to climb up to like that number two tier. And some of them, like KJ Osborne and Javon Baker, have a chance to kind of drop down to that number four tier. But it's just a bunch of number three wide receivers right now.
Yeah, just a couple more minutes here with Chad Graff, Patriots writer for The Athletic here on the Rich Eisen Show. Can I get an update on Christian Gonzalez? Man, I love watching the guy in college. We're from Colorado to Oregon. Was so excited for him in his rookie year with the Patriots, and obviously the injury, didn't get a chance to see the full season. What's the update on Christian Gonzalez, a guy who I think is one of the better young corners that maybe we'll be talking more about this year?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So he was their first-round pick, the last first-round pick of the Belichick era, and really exceeded expectations right off the jump, and immediately starts looking like that next in line Patriots number one cornerback that you see that Bill Belichick was so good at developing. J.C. Jackson and Steph Gilmore before him, Taiwan, of course, going all the way back. Like they've just always relied on being able to develop these top tier cornerbacks. And it looked like here comes Christian Gonzalez. Oh my gosh, they've done it again. He's everything that you want in a modern cornerback. He's fast. He's got long arms. He's tall. He's lanky. He's got ball skills. His first 3.5 games last year, so unbelievably good that it felt like, oh my gosh, this guy's a shoo-in for Defensive Rookie of the Year. The Patriots have done it again. Then he gets hurt and ends up missing the rest of the season in week 4. And so expectations for him coming in, sky high. Like the team, the public, New England, everybody's ready to just pencil this guy in. Unfortunately, I think we've seen in camp so far that, missing 3 months in your rookie year does matter. And so he has had a little bit of rust in training camp. It hasn't been just coming in and dominating the way that I think the Patriots hoped. And yet, I think you still feel confident, given what he did those first 3 games, that sure, there's a little rust in training camp, but by the time we get to, say, October, he'll probably be ready to roll. And, if the Patriots have their wishes, I think Christian Gonzalez could be a top 10 cornerback in the entire National Football League this season.
Chad, I get you out of here on this. Again, Eagles, Patriots tonight, the only game on, by the way. So I think we'll all be watching this game tonight, preseason game number 2 for the Patriots. But anybody else, always love these under-the-radar guys that no one is like, if you're not covering the Patriots, you don't really know, but you're there, boots on the ground. Is there a player, a guy that I need to keep my eye on for tonight? Because I'm always looking for these unheralded guys who may be a factor early on, maybe late in the season, or even one of those fantasy sleepers, Chad.
Yeah, so a wide receiver that we haven't really talked about that will be interesting to follow is going to be Kayshon Boutte. He's going to get a lot of playing time. He's a second-year receiver. Yeah. He's a guy who, going back to his high school days, like 5-star recruit, can't miss. This guy's going to be legit. Shows up to LSU, is so good early on at LSU, like breaking early on OBJ records, and gets that coveted number 7 jersey down there in Baton Rouge, and everything is looking good. Then he deals with some injuries, and it falls off a little bit. And so it hasn't been probably his ideal last 2 or 3 years, but no question the talent is there. And it's just a matter of if the Patriots are going to be able to develop that and bring that out. He had a really good first preseason game, led the team in catches and receiving yards. He's going to get a lot of time tonight. He's got a chance to make the team. Like Juju Smith-Schuster is gone now. Tyquan Thornton is certainly no roster lock. And so it's all right there for Kayshon Boutte. He just needs to go out and have a good game tonight.
It's the duo that we didn't know we needed. Maye to Boutte tonight. Yeah, we can't wait. There we go. Patriots, Eagles tonight. And my guy, Chad Graff, he will be there. Make sure you go out and follow him as well, at Chad Graff. He's the Patriots writer for The Athletic. Be looking at your stuff all day today, Chad, to get me caught up on tonight's game. Man, appreciate the time, and we'll catch up soon.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.